Hello, this is John Armwood, and I'm back on the Armwood Opinion channel. This week is the first week of March, right at the end of it. It's on Thursday of the first week of March, the 7th, I believe it is. And I'm here to talk about the continuing saga of the Trump scandal in our nation. Our nation is in deep trouble, folks. I know you realize this. I hope that you do realize this. Some of you young people may not know how bad things really are. We went through a similar scandal back in 1973 with both President Nixon and President Agnew having to resign from their positions. Agnew first for some corruption that he engaged in, some bribes before he became vice president, and Richard Nixon for his obstruction of justice and cover-up of the Watergate scandal while he was president, and his illegal use of the administrative arms of government to serve his political needs and political desires, using the Justice Department corruptly, the IRS, for corrupt purposes. We have a president now who has interfered in the operation of the Justice Department, has conspired, it appears, with the Russian Republic to get elected in the first place through an intermediary, at least at best, the WikiLeaks organization run by Julian Assange, who was very angry at Hillary Clinton when she was Secretary of State under President Obama. It seems like this and the Russians have gotten together to engage in a form of payback for Miss Clinton going after Assange while she was Secretary of State, and they leaked her emails after hacking into the Democratic National Party servers. We know that Donald Trump knew about meetings with the Russians. We know that his son, Donald Trump Jr., was involved with meetings with the Russians that were part of this conspiracy, involving also his son-in-law and Jared Kushner, and apparently his daughter. So we're talking about a whole family of gangsters. These people have always been gangsters, and that's the thing to remember. Remember, his grandfather was a brothel owner in Toronto. His father was Fred Trump, who Donald worked with as a young man, was a slum landlord in New York who openly discriminated against blacks and Puerto Ricans. Speaking of President Nixon, as we did a few minutes ago, his Justice Department went after Fred and Donald Trump for discrimination in 1973. And they into a consent decree, claiming they would change their ways. Of course, they didn't change, and they were brought back into court for failing to honor their agreement. Trump engaged in illegal activities, discrimination, while involved with his disastrous ventures in Atlantic City, New Jersey. So Donald Trump has always been involved in corrupt activities. He has not paid vendors throughout his career. He is a crime lord who was able to get into the White House based largely on his attacks on President Obama, claiming he was born in Kenya, not the United States, just pure racism, and later on his attacks on Hispanics, particularly Mexicans. He announced his campaign calling Mexicans criminals of various sorts. This is a bad man. People who voted for him are not the best people in the world. Their values were in the wrong place. They knew that he was a racist. They knew he was a misogynist. This is the man that bragged about on tape grabbing women by their personal parts. And people still voted for him. Evangelical Christians voted for him, which says a lot about their religious belief system and their morality. And I'll leave that alone. But the evidence is pretty clear. And they overwhelmingly, as a group, I'm not saying all of them, but a majority of them, more than a majority of them who voted in the 2016 election, voted for a misogynist, racist man. The bottom line, though, is what are you and I going to do about this? What we need to do is pressure our representatives in the House of Representatives to bring articles of impeachment. I know a lot of them do not intend to move on this until after Robert Mueller's report comes out, if it comes out. Now, we know that the Justice Department may not release it, bar the new Attorney General that was handpicked by Trump may not release it. And so that's really a problem for us. But the evidence that he used can be subpoenaed by the House Judiciary Committee. The House Judiciary Committee this past week requested 81 people to turn over documents to the committee. They're doing their job. So if these people don't turn over the information, and some of them have indicated already that they won't, they will have to face subpoenas. And if they still refuse to turn over information, as an example, if Donald Trump refuses to turn over his tax returns, which I'm sure he will, this will have to go to court. And he will be ordered to do that. Remember, this happened during the Nixon administration. The House had to go to court to force Nixon to turn over documents. So we're looking at a situation where a lot of politicians are scared. They're afraid for their jobs. They tend to put their personal interest before that of the country. We have to pressure them. We have to raise the decision cost for them. We have to tell them that if they don't bring articles of impeachment, and particularly the Senate, if the Senate doesn't move to convict him if the evidence warrants that, and I have no doubt that it will, that we will make them pay a price in 2020, that their seats will be in danger, that they will be voted out of office. This is the only way that we are going to get rid of Trump. We have to pressure our Congress people to vote articles of impeachment if they're in the House, and to convict if the evidence warrants it in the Senate. We have to make noise. We have to write them. We have to call them. We have to do what needs to be done to get them to do their jobs. Fear is what motivates them. That's what we have to do. Fear. And if we don't put that pressure, then Trump will survive until the 2020 election. And it's likely that he may be reelected. And if he is reelected, then, as I discussed in the last video, he can outlast the statute of limitation on his clear campaign finance violation. That's a major problem. We cannot allow him to get away with this. This is a bad precedent for this nation. We must move now. Organize, 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 agitate, write and call your Congress people, organize protests outside their office. We have to put pressure on them. People, don't expect them to do the right thing. We must pressure them. Remember, resistance is not futile. We must resist. We must agitate, agitate, agitate. Check the like button if you like this video. Check the subscribe button to hear more videos like this. Go back and look at the videos that I have posted. There are a series of them, and I hope you enjoy it. And thank you very much. John Armwood from the Armwood Opinion Channel. Thanks.